It is time for our Dollars and Cents segment, which is a way each week I bring you a great tip to improve the quality of your life and your financial and estate planning. And today I want to talk about your living trusts. Many people have living trusts. In other words, you've set up a trust that you've gone ahead and you've put your assets, or at least the intent was to put your assets into your living trust now while you're alive. It's a revocable thing, so many people call them revocable living trusts. About the only thing you cannot put in a living trust, you cannot put IRAs and retirement accounts inside of trusts. But many of you have done living trusts, and the number one reason people do them is to bypass probate. But a lot of people do their living trusts, and they never put their property or all their property and assets into the trust. And that's what's called funding the trust, which simply means you create this trust document. A lot of reasons you might want to do that. And then the intent is, say your house, you could have your house, you could have your investment accounts that are not retirement accounts. You're going to put them inside the trust. It's called funding the trust. Now, just mentioning those assets in your living trust does not put them there. It's really meaningless to put a list of the assets that should be in your living trust listed in the trust. It doesn't mean anything. All that matters is what is the title on the asset. So, for example, if I went down to the courthouse and I pulled the title to your house, if it says John Smith, and it's just got your name, John and Betty Smith, that asset, that house is not in the trust. It would have to say the John and Betty Smith Living Trust, or the John Smith Living Trust, or the Betty Smith Living Trust. You have to have the assets in the trust. And to do that, you have to do a quitclaim deed on your house or any other real estate. If you've got investments, bank accounts, those kind of things, you simply change the title on your account. So instead of you owning it individually, your trust owns that, and it would say it right at the top of your statement. It would say the John Smith Living Trust. I've seen many people have come into my office and they've spent, in many cases, thousands of dollars on these legal tools, but they haven't funded the trust. And a lot of times those trusts are directing certain things to happen upon your death, and if you don't put the assets into the trust, then the trust is a meaningless kind of a thing. So it's a very important step. Now, a similar thing is for those of you who've done estate tax planning, you'll know what I mean when I say you've divided your assets, where you've put half the assets in the husband's name and half the assets in the wife's name. I've talked about why you would do that in past shows. Don't have time to get into all those things today. But the idea is you redrafted your wills to have some of your assets covered by the husband's will, some covered by the wife's will upon her death. But then if you don't go and split those assets and change how they're titled, then that work is really pretty meaningless. So the big lesson here is when you do living trusts, or when you do estate tax planning and your intention is to divide the assets, if you don't follow through and change how the assets are titled on the statements themselves, on the accounts themselves, or on your title to your house or property, then all that legal work is for naught. So be sure if you have trust, you funded the trust. And again, just having the assets listed in the trust is not enough. They have to actually be titled with either your title or with your investment accounts.